Hey guys, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. It's warm out. I feel like this has got to be like Cap's best day of the week, considering it's almost up to 90 at some point this weekend.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Oh, God, I love the heat. Courtney, I got to ask you a question. Do we overdo the coverage of OTAs? I'm not talking about what the coach says when we go, oh, Caleb got picked off, and boy, that left tackle. Somebody posted, one of the members of the media, boy, that battle at left tackle, really good stuff from Ozzie Trapillo today. Nobody's wearing pads.
I think that you have to have context with everything, that being the key there, that they're not in pads yet, and that there are 90 guys on the roster, 91 right now because of the international exception they have with Torrey Taylor. Like, this is a good start to see how position battles will take shape when they actually matter in August, but for right now, that's all part of it. And I know there were some tweets the other day. Wow, Caleb had a terrible day. He couldn't complete a pass over the middle of the field because he was picked off by Tremaine Edmonds and then Jaquan Brisker. The more context behind that, the Edmonds pass was thrown to no one. It was thrown directly to the linebacker. That was not good. The Brisker pass was not. So, I mean, I think there's layers of this that need a little bit more detail to it so you can understand what you're seeing and what you need to panic about as a fan versus what you don't. But It's this time of year. I mean, we're not – I've seen some teams. Like, if you think the coverage here is one way, like, go check out the Jets beat reporters. Go check out the Cleveland Browns reporters that are tracking every pass that's being thrown by their four quarterbacks right now. You know, a lot of times routes on air. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I just think that you have to know what you're watching for and know that this is just the start of what you're supposed to see and what you're supposed to evaluate in a couple of months.
Courtney, how did you think that Caleb Williams handled the press conference from beginning to end?
I think he handled it well. I think that if you're looking for any more signs of his leadership, that's a perfect example of it. How he got out and addressed it, a 4-minute opening statement where he kind of went through everything. He didn't deny anything, which is – I know a lot of fans are saying, oh, this is old news, it's not a story. Where have you ever heard Caleb Williams talk about Minnesota the way he did the other day in acknowledging what was in the book, that Minnesota was his preferred destination initially? Like, that's important context to provide to the overall story so you're not just hearing it from a book instead of from the horse's mouth. So I think he handled it really well, and I think he spun it forward really well in talking about how Ben Johnson – the Ben Johnson effect that he kind of laughed about at the end, and how much better he feels he's prepared to watch film, to be a quarterback this year in the NFL, and using the experiences from his past to put him in a spot that he feels like, the worst is behind him, that he can get better. I thought there was a lot of leadership in that, and I thought he did a really good job.
In terms of looking, I was reading this morning about Trey Hendrickson is dug in, was the response from some NFL insiders. I'm not going to play. He went to OTAs but did not put on his Bengals gear and was talking to the media. He said, I'm not coming to training camp. I'm not going to play in a game, and I will sit out. And if you think I'm lying, trust me, I'm not. Do you think that this thing gets to a point where the Bengals do indeed trade him? Is that what your sources are telling you? Because Waddle
that would be
so dug in, he wants him.
Yeah, well, that's the logical conclusion to all of this, because no one's sitting out seasons anymore. No one's doing the Le'Veon Bell. Like, they're just not. That's not – like, time is too valuable, especially where he is in his career on the other side of 30. That's just not a realistic way to go about it. He can get real loud, though. He can get real loud and and become a big distraction so much that he'll force the Bengals' hand. Now, it just kind of takes into account their patience. Like, what are they willing to put up with? What are they willing to deal with until they think they can either get some sort of agreement, fix his contract to a point where both sides are happy. And if they can tolerate what's going on right now, not having him out there for OTAs, minicamp, doesn't matter. He's still going to get fined, remind you. Like, that those fines don't go away either. So I think it just comes down to who's going to blink first. And if he becomes a big enough distraction for this team, and where they feel like they're not, like they need pass rush help, and they're not going to get it from him, then they'll trade him. But I don't think I think you got to get to like the 11th hour of this is such a desperate situation. He doesn't want to be here. We've done everything and exhausted all options, and they're not there yet.
Courtney, I thought that this was interesting from Ben Johnson.
We're moving guys around. Yeah, we want to give everyone an opportunity. So, Darnell, we feel pretty comfortable keeping him at the right side right now. So the left side until we get Braxton back in the mix, it's going to be a little bit of musical chairs.
Now, again, we remember what Ryan Poles said, and he was the one that opened the door of saying, well, what if Darnell Wright was at left tackle? And so I just think that obviously Amagaje against Trapillo will be interesting as far as that battle in camp, but I just think that from what I heard the other day, Darnell Wright is solidified at right tackle. That's it, right?
I feel like I heard that too. The for now thing for them, they're going to couch it that way because they don't want to lock anybody into any position. I mean, even Case Keenum getting the QB2 reps, we're all of the belief that that's Tyson Bagent's job. And so it is interesting how Ben Johnson is truly trying to cut down the depth chart and say every job's available right now. So at left tackle, naturally, it's easier to have one vacancy that you fill instead of create two. So instead of playing Ozzie Trapillo with the twos at right tackle, a place that he probably wouldn't see many reps at because that's Darnell Wright's job, you're giving him a chance to show that he can be a left tackle in the NFL and that he could actually be an option for you when you have all three competing for a job in training camp. So I'm not surprised that they left the door open for it. I mean, it's better to do that than pigeonhole yourself into, we're only going to be looking at left tackle. And then if they did decide to move Darnell Wright, it's why did you do that? But I'm firmly of the belief right now, if they really want to get this thing going and have a starting five more or less by the beginning of training camp, that you won't see Darnell move, that was something that they threw out there. They must have discussed it internally and decided that was not the direction they were going to go.
Kap, you know what it sounds like to me? It just sounds like to me that when Braxton Jones is healthy, he will be the left tackle, and what's going on in camp will be Trapillo against Amagaje as far as who's going to have the upper hand, who could be the next left tackle of the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I was just looking a little bit ago at break. PFF ranked the top 40 tackles, right or left, in the National Football League, and Braxton Jones was the number one ranked from the Bears. He was just ahead of Darnell Wright, and they said, despite having to deal with a serious injury, he had his best year as a pro. And sometimes I think, I'm not saying they should sign him to some massive deal, Courtney, but I do believe he will be the left tackle if healthy when the season starts.
Yeah, and the way that Ben phrased that the other day about, we're going to keep moving these guys around until Braxton gets back. Naturally, the guy who has the most experience and has started every game at left tackle for you outside of injury the last 3 years is probably best suited to be your left tackle among the options that you have. That's not to say that Karan can't supplant him someday or that Ozzie Trapillo won't be a starting tackle for the team. They drafted him with a second-round pick. He has to be at some point. But if you're just looking at it logically, the guy who has the most experience doing it and is coming off his best year of his 3 years in Chicago, if he's healthy enough to do it, I mean, he hasn't been on the field. He's recovering from a broken ankle. Health is going to factor in there to determine if he's the same player when he comes back. But the way that they're talking about it, and I think the way that they're not deciding to move more positions around shows you that that's the one void they're trying to fix this offseason. And they're going to give these two young guys a chance to show, at the very worst, who's your top swing tackle? Who's the guy who's going to be relied on upon injury, which does happen. And I think that's probably the best way to approach it so you're not moving around that many pieces and you can continue to build that continuity up front.
Could you give us the latest on the injuries to Luther Burden and Colston Loveland? Because you have them questionable. Go ahead. It's on the depth chart.
on the depth chart that I am directly responsible for.
And T.J. Edwards, too.
Yeah, why is T.J. Edwards questionable? Go ahead.
Soft tissue injury for Edwards, Kyler Gordon, and we know Luther Burden's still dealing with one. But Ben Johnson did say there was a follow-up question about the injuries. Do you expect everybody at minicamp next week? And he said yes. So maybe those soft tissue injuries are things that are just, a 1 week, 2 week sort of deal. We haven't seen Luther Burden since rookie camp. So that's, we saw him go down hard on a football. It looked to me back in early May like he got the wind knocked out of him, but maybe that is something more from that injury that he's been dealing with. for Ben Johnson to say he doesn't expect anybody to be absent, they've had really good attendance so far in OTAs. So I expect that to continue based on what he said.
Do you expect him to be active on Sunday?
I think I have a couple more months until I have to make any alterations to my depth chart, so just leave it be for now.
Okay. Leave it be.
I'll call somebody in Bristol and see if they can update that, because I have absolutely no idea how to get into that file.
Courtney, that dude right there that you're talking to, my partner, first thing he does, I log into X, I look at the paper, I get my coffee. He goes right to the depth chart every day.
I mean, this might not be the best company line to tote, but go to our labs. They have a much more accurate depth chart than ESPN.com. They always have, and that's what I use.
That's so funny. All right. As always, we appreciate the time. Have a great weekend.
Have a great
Thanks, guys.
one, Courtney.
Take care.
You and your
You
depth
too.
chart.